Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a major improvement from Sonic the Hedgehog 1 in almost every way imaginable. My last video, you could tell that my reviews of the game weren't really that high, but also wasn't that low. I understood that that was the very first game, and so it laid the foundation of what Sonic was meant to be. But Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I think, nearly perfects the formula in which Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles will later actually perfect, making the best classic Sonic game out there. Miles Tails per Hour is introduced in this game, being seen as Sonic's sidekick and later on companion in the series, and I chose in this playthrough to play as him because, well, they introduced him and it made sense. Trying out new characters as the games move forward, I will also be playing as Knuckles in Sonic 3, just so, I can kind of keep the trend going. So anyways, we start off in Emerald Hill Zone, which is one of the most perfect introductory stages that Sonic will ever have. It's right up there with Green Hill Zone. And already from the get-go, you can see that this game's sense of momentum has already been improved drastically. The way you can gain speed in this game by going down hills is way better than it was in Sonic 1, because after Green Hill, it was just really slow and just an overall negative experience for me, and that's where the most of enjoyment in the game fell off, because it felt so hard to gain speed, something which Sonic is literally known for. And the level design has gotten a lot better too. I'm pretty sure this was already established in Sonic 1, but not to the degree that it is in Sonic 2, and then eventually Sonic 3 and Knuckles. You see, the better that you perform in these stages, you can go on the top path. The top path promotes speed, but it's harder to stay on. On the bottom path, it gives you opportunities to go up to the main up path. However, it's more slower, it involves more platforming, and it's overall a more dangerous experience, which will cause you to lose rings, and if you don't have any rings, you can't get any of the Chaos Emeralds, which are again through special stages, which are in this half pipe, which is something I'll definitely get into later on. But overall, Emerald Hill Zone is an amazing stage, beautiful music, a beautiful aesthetic that sets itself apart from Green Hill, and overall, it's a pretty good stage and a wonderful opening. And the only thing I have a problem with this game is Tails' flight. See, when you fly with Tails, you are locked into flying until you hit the ground or Tails gets tired. And it just, flying with Tails, it definitely slows down the momentum, but I guess Tails is meant to be as a sort of easy mode because you can just fly, say if you were to jump into a bottomless pit. But him not be able to cancel it is something that's, been here since he's ever been shown. So hopefully if we're ever to get Tails again, apart from Frontiers, we can cancel his flight into a spin ball or maybe a drop dash type of move. Then we get into Chemical Plant, a stage that is being almost run down into the dirt just as much as Green Hill, because we've seen it in Generations, now we've seen it in Forces, and then the last time we saw it was in Frontiers, which everyone at that point was getting already too much deja vu of seeing the stage appear more than once over the last 10 years, especially since Sonic's release cycle has been consistently getting more and more, let's just say, there's a lot more space in between Sonic's releases, so when we don't get a lot of Sonic content already, and then the content that we do get is reused assets from stages that we've seen years before, it definitely leaves a sour taste in our mouths, especially the Sonic fandom's mouth. But for its first appearance, it's really good. Wonderful music, brilliant stage design, and wonderful aesthetic. And overall, there's nothing bad I could say around here. You can avoid the water at all times if you stay on the top path. Brilliant speed, and another thing that I like is that in this game you can move so fast that the camera can't keep up with you, and I feel like that's something that all Sonic games should have, because it makes you really feel like you're going fast. You really feel like Sonic the Hedgehog here, or Tails the Fox in this matter, and I enjoy it a lot. It really makes the momentum based speed running platformer aesthetic that Sonic's been trying to go for since his inception, and takes that to a whole nother level. Aquatic Ruin Zone is also a decent stage, but I feel like Hydraulic City Zone kind of takes the cake on that type of stage layout. So I'm just going to skip over to Casino Night Zone, where, oh my god, the music is one of the greatest tracks in Sonic history. It has wonderful stage design, glorious aesthetics, and especially the colors. It's so vibrant. Using the black background, it really emphasizes the colors that pop on the screen while not taking away from your sprite, being Sonic or Tails, who are already colorful enough, and yet they blend in so well, but not to blend in too much to the point that you can lose track of your character. Wonderful stage, the pinball aesthetic that we saw, and I think in Spring Yard Zone, the last game, really shines through here, and again shows Sonic's crippling gambling addiction, because it always seems like he's in a casino, and I love to see this casino aesthetic in every game that I play, and hopefully they bring it back for the next game too. Overall, these are just some of the examples of my favorite stages in this game. I'm not going to be going through all of them, given that this is a joint video with Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, and I'd like to get this pushed out in a reasonable amount of time. But, these stages are good. They employ Sonic's game design marvelously. You can go really fast at the top stage, but there's also a risk of you losing your balance and falling down to the harder paths, which then you can have a chance to maintain that speed again by going back up. This game isn't really difficult at all, except for the final boss, and I think that makes it fun. My main criticism with the special stage is that it is wildly hard to beat. This game is two-dimensional, and it tries to put you on a 3D plane for you to avoid objects, usually bombs, that are coming towards you. But the thing is, you can't tell when something's coming up ahead if you don't have the perspective to see it. And that causes so many problems when you're trying to go for any of the Chaos Emeralds, because guess what? You'll be running collecting rings, you'll turn that corner, and you're just getting bombarded with bombs that you literally have to either already know the stage layout or have to be lucky, because there's no way you're just going to avoid every single bomb on the first try, or even avoid most of them. And finally, I want to talk about the final boss, the Death Egg Robot. You spawn in with 0 rings, and you have to defeat this boss with 0 rings. Now, the hitboxes in this game and the collision detection for Sonic in general across all the classic entries and even Mania and Superstars has always been questionable. And when you're trying to deal with this boss, I'm telling you right now, it is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I'm gonna fess up. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't beat it. Okay, I just couldn't. It takes way too much time. I wanted to get this footage out in a reasonable amount of time. And honestly, I feel like it doesn't take away from my experience of the game. I've played all of it. Either I found the time to beat it in between this recording and when this video is uploaded, or I didn't. But either way, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a much more enjoyable experience than Sonic the Hedgehog 1. And unless you really want to play things in the way they were released, I'd recommend this game second to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because overall I believe that's a better package. But for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I enjoyed it a lot, and I highly recommend it if you're looking to pick up some classic Sonic games. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles is one of the greatest experiences I've ever gained from this franchise, and let me tell you why. This game has wonderful music, wonderful sprite work, wonderful aesthetics, and some of the coolest things that have ever been introduced in this series. And just to show you that, I'm going to show you 2 things: Hypersonic and Omega Sonic. That's all you need to know. Omega Sonic, have y'all seen Super Mario Bros. Z? The shit that he was doing, it was incredible. He was dead ass. He was our little niche Isaac. He was doing shit that you would never even expect a Sonic character to do. That's why we want to see these characters fight more, And hey, saw the shadow animation. That shit was fire. They were throwing straight hands. Him and Emerald. I digress. The opening to this game starts with you flying as Super Sonic, assuming you got the good ending. The endings don't transfer over, but the good ending of Sonic 2 is canon in the timeline, to which leads to the point of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. They're flying as Super Sonic, and out of nowhere, this red echidna comes out of the ground and knocks Sonic out of his Super Sonic form. Super Sonic is invincible, right? Or so we thought. But yet this new guy, this echidna, just comes out of nowhere and he knocks him out of him. Not only does he just knock the shit out of Sonic, he grabs his Chaos Emeralds, laughs in his face, and runs away. And he just leaves them there. But we're on Angel Island. This is his house. And you go to somebody's house, you get your ass beat, and he robbed you of your gems. I'm in awe. Well, I didn't choose to play Sonic in this playthrough. I chose to play Knuckles, but it's just like, come on, is this ore farming? This has to be. Anyways, Knuckles the Echidna is the newest character introduced in this game, and he is fun. He has a glide ability that you can stop anytime you want. He can climb walls, which makes it easier to getting back to places in which you fell. His fists, you can just run through walls. Other characters can't do that. They have to either get into a spin dash form or roll into a ball. But no, he can just run through walls. Tougher than the rest of them, I chose to play Knuckles, and it was pretty fun. I'm not gonna go through all the stages here. I'm just gonna go through stages that still linger in my head. There's a lot, because this game is very beautiful for a Genesis game. Angel Island, Knuckles' house, is one of the most glorious stages I've ever seen. It's so beautiful. And then when it catches on fire, it's the subversion here. See, Sonic and Knuckles, they're already throwing stuff at you. You go through this green plane, okay, green hill, boom, green, luscious greenery. Emerald Hill, luscious greenery, but even more. Angel Island, okay, we're getting a little tropical vibe here. And then it just all gets set ablaze. It's all on fire. You don't know why. You want to run around to the end of the stage to find out who did this. Why is the greenery now on fire? What is going on? And all the bosses for Knuckles' side of the story is different than Sonic's. You fight Eggman, but since in this game, Knuckles has been tricked by Eggman into thinking that Sonic is the villain, you fight just Eggman's Badnik. I forgot what it was called. I'm gonna just put it up on screen right here. But yeah, Knuckles got the seed. He's in the brightest. It doesn't mean he's an idiot too. Wonderful opening stage. It really shows you that, hey, this is gonna be a different adventure than what you're used to before. And I like that. Carnival Night Zone is also a wonderful stage. It looks pretty. The gimmick too, with you having to hold down on the cylinders that bob up and down to push you up forward. Although it makes zero sense at first, it's something that you got to get used to, and eventually it's a little bit fun. Ice Cap Zone is also a really beautiful stage. I love the music there. The whole soundtrack for this game is actually really good. I really recommend that you give this specific one a listen. Every stage in here has something to offer, and hey, maybe you should just add some to your playlist. Hey, I don't know, but I feel like these stages have some really beautiful themes to them. I remember playing Mushroom Hill for Sonic Generations on the 3DS and being able to play its original form, even though the stage layout is completely ripped from this game onto Generations on the DS. Was really fun. The bouncing off the mushrooms. This game has a lot of gimmicks. All the stages have gimmicks, which I feel like is very integral into making a fun Sonic stage. Having gimmicks, but also not over relying to the gimmicks to the point that it makes it annoying, like wisps, for example, that we see later on. These stage gimmicks need to be integrated into the stage naturally, but also not have it be the main focus, because obviously you're the main focus. The player is. Your character is supposed to be running around these stages, gaining momentum, gaining speed, doing cool shit. Later entries doing cool shit. And now seeing that build up upon from these little gimmicks here, which you could bounce on a mushroom. Wow, that's such a crazy gimmick. Not really, but obviously this is the first time they're doing things like that, and that's really appreciated, because later on, as we can see, the stage layout and gimmicks are kind of non-existent moving forward into the modern age of Sonic. Sky Sanctuary is also a pretty good stage, although it's becoming more redundant because again, we've seen it in Generations and then again in Forces, so it's now becoming a heated issue in the community. But there's a reason why Sonic 3 and Knuckles is so glorified in the community and why it is dubbed the greatest Sonic game of all time. Because, well, it's so good, there's really no downsides to this game. I mean, there's the hit detection issue, the hitbox issues, all of that, and yeah, it's just gonna be there for every classic Sonic game in the universe. But all in all, this is one of the most enjoyable gaming experience I've ever experienced, period. It's one of the greatest games of all time, has one of the greatest stages, the greatest music, some good character designs. Everything about it just screams the love and passion that Sega had for Sonic, which they're kind of getting back into right now. But back then, with Mario as their competitor, it felt like each game they had to keep upping themselves. They had to keep going more grander and grander. Sonic 1, you're just running through normal locales in Sonic's world, Green Hill Zone, ancient ruins. Sonic 2, we kind of upgrade a bit. We even get into the Death Egg robot, we fight that. But now we're going into all these wild different places, and even end off, if we get all the Chaos Emeralds, and then later on the Super Emeralds, fighting Eggman in this all or nothing battle in space. And I feel like that intensity is really necessary, especially when Sonic, again, as a franchise, is always about being grander and grander. And again, I will always state that Sonic itself can be a serious franchise with serious stakes in it, and I feel like Sonic is the most he'll ever be when the stakes are high, when he has something to truly fight for. Well, in this case, I was playing as Knuckles, so what Knuckles has to fight for. All in all, a very enjoyable package, and I highly recommend Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because it is one of the greatest Sonic games, and one of the greatest games I've ever played, period.